Washington is crackling with controversy, and a shocking revelation by Trump's top official has sent major shockwaves. On February 26th, FBI Director Kash Patel accused the Biden-era Federal Bureau of Investigation of making scathing missteps. According to Patel, the FBI subpoenaed his and White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles' phone call records in 2022 and 2023 during the federal probe into Donald Trump.
It is outrageous and deeply alarming that the previous FBI leadership secretly subpoenaed my own phone records, along with those of now White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, using flimsy pretexts and burying the entire process in prohibited case files designed to evade all oversight.
The FBI's actions followed Special Counsel Jack Smith's investigation into whether Trump tried to overturn the 2020 election and whether he retained classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago residence, according to the FBI chief. Smith was appointed to take over the probe in November 2022. Patel described the FBI's seizure of his phone records and the alleged attempts to conceal them as government overreach by unelected officials during the administration of Joe Biden. Patel and Wiles were interviewed during Smith's investigation. In 2023, the FBI recorded a call between Wiles and her attorney. Her lawyer knew about and consented to the recording, but Wiles herself was not aware of it. According to Patel, the records were found in files labeled Prohibited, a category that makes them difficult to locate in the Bureau's system. He added that he has since ended the FBI's use of the Prohibited category. Patel said investigators relied on subpoenas to obtain toll records, which show when calls were made and to whom, but do not reveal what was said during the calls. After these details came to light, at least 10 current FBI employees were dismissed for targeting Patel, Wiles, and other Trump loyalists, according to FBI officials, Reuters reported. However, Democrats in Congress have stood by Smith, arguing he was right to seek phone records and other evidence to fully investigate alleged misconduct by Trump and his associates. During a closed-door House Oversight Committee hearing in December 2025, Smith did not budge from his stance on indicting President Trump and said the decision was his alone and based solely on Trump's actions. He said the investigation launched under President Biden found evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that Trump pursued a criminal effort to overturn the 2020 election, and that President Trump willfully retained highly classified documents after he left office.
The decision to bring charges against President Trump was mine, but the basis for those charges rests entirely with President Trump and his actions, as alleged in the indictments returned by grand juries in 2 different districts. Our investigation developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt that President Trump engaged in a criminal scheme to overturn the results of the 2020 election and to prevent the lawful transfer of power. Our investigation also developed powerful evidence that showed that President Trump willfully retained highly classified documents after he left office in January of 2021, storing them at his social club, including in a ballroom and a bathroom. He then repeatedly tried to obstruct justice to conceal his continued retention of those documents.
On January 22nd, during another House Oversight Committee hearing, Republicans sharply criticized Smith over Arctic Frost subpoenas.
Mr. Smith, how many members of Congress or the Senate did you subpoena phone toll records?
As I sit here right now, I do not recall a specific number.
Is this the complete list right here? Well, let me ask you this. Am I on this list? Did you target my records and subpoena my phone toll records?
My understanding is your records were subpoenaed by prosecutors before I became special counsel.
Well, the staff would put this up on the screen. I'm thankful for the great staff who discovered the email where I learned for the first time a few weeks ago that my phone records were indeed targeted. We called AT&T and we've learned that they were given to the Department of Justice, as this email indicates, because I had been in communication with Scott Perry, one of my colleagues here in Congress, who literally had his phone taken from him in front of his family. And of course, as we've already talked about in this document, it talks about you could be in violation of the privilege by even obtaining and possessing this information if the member objected to the disclosure. This happened 4 years ago in May of 2022, and I couldn't object because I didn't know. I didn't know until about 3 weeks ago. My question here is, was there any limits to your investigation or the investigation that preceded you, Mr. Smith? Because as egregious as a violation of separation of powers this is, as an egregious and abuse of power it is, it's far more concerning you are clearly targeting American citizens for merely being conservative or supporting the president. We've got memos that we've already been talking about in this hearing from April 2022 that preceded you that established and opened the investigations, one of which has Attorney General Merrick Garland's signature on it. And the focus was the electors. Now that was 6 months before you were appointed. You testified earlier, you met and interviewed Merrick Garland and Deputy AG Lisa Monaco, and you briefed the AG and Deputy multiple times. Did you brief them on the electors and the prosecution of their supposed crimes?
Did I? I'm sorry.
Did you brief them on the electors and their supposed crimes?
I don't recall specific conversations, but I'm sure that in the course of briefing them, I discussed.
Wasn't that the purpose of the entire investigation as it was set out? Because putting aside that in 1960, as we already talked about, my friend Mr. Tiffany, that Hawaii put forward an alternate slate of electors, the investigation pivoted to President Trump and frankly anybody who knew him. Do you know who Cleta Mitchell is?
Yes, I do.
She's an election lawyer that was involved in filing an election contest on behalf of President Trump in Georgia in December of 2020. A 64-page complaint with over 1,100 pages of exhibits, witness affidavits, and expert witness reports documenting thousands of votes cast in violation of Georgia law, but which were nevertheless included in the vote totals. Now, notwithstanding the disposition of the cases that was filed, is that a criminal act? Filing an election contest on behalf of a candidate for office, a client. Is that a criminal act, yes or no?
No, in fact, we stated.
So why did you deem it appropriate to monitor Cleta Mitchell's long-distance phone records in 2023, 2.5 years after the election contest was filed and after the presidential electors were certified? What about Jen Ellis? What about Sidney Powell? What about Bill Sepien? What crime did you suspect had been committed by them that would warrant monitoring their phone records 2.5 years after the 2020 election was certified?
With respect to Sidney Powell, she is one of the co-conspirators alleged in the indictment. I don't know what you mean by monitoring, sir, if you're talking.
Well, there were some 400 plus Republican conservative groups and leaders who were targeted by your investigation. Their financial records were obtained, records of the RNC, the Trump campaign, Cleta Mitchell, the Conservative Partnership Institute, the American First Policy Institute, NRCC, NRSC, PACs, conservative groups, people all across the country, citizens, because we hear a lot about members of Congress. And we should, because of separation of powers and the egregious abuse of power. But what we're not talking about enough, in my opinion, are the American citizens that have been targeted. Because frankly, are there any limits to the power of a special prosecutor or special counsel? So much so in your abuse of power that in the summer of 2024, the indictment involving classified documents was dismissed after determining your appointment violated the Appointments Clause of the Constitution, but you continued to sign your name on court filings until the time you resigned from office in January of 2025. A federal judge just recently stated a prosecutor who continues to sign his name in court filings after a disqualification order should face disciplinary action or disbarment.
With respect to the last point, Judge Cannon's order specifically limited her finding to that proceeding. So there would be nothing improper about continuing to litigate the cases in Washington, D.C. And with respect to Florida, there was nothing improper about taking an appeal of that very decision.